House of Enlightenment is open to all, for we are all connected. I'm asked this question more than any other. I'll do my best to explain. While we're different individuals, you and I are also members of a common species and a shared society. It's those bonds that make our growth and evolution as a people possible, both spiritually and intellectually. Together, we can share our burdens, learn from one another, and enrich each other's lives. In unity, we find both solace and strength. There's more to it, of course, but I find that some lessons are best learned on one's own. Not at all. We don't do that. Well, most of us don't. We prefer to let people find their own way to us, if that's the right path for them. I'm not here to make a sales pitch, just to inform and share. Having said all that, the Enlightened are always happy to welcome new members into our fellowship. May you walk in peace and friendship.
Evening, ma'am.
If you are ever looking to buy property, remember me, Mr. Tate. Nice to meet you. I'm Mr. Tate, and you have the look of a newcomer. Welcome to Akila City. I don't suppose you're in the market for real estate. If so, then look no further. No, certainly not. But you have the air of someone with means. And these properties are a real bargain, I assure you. In the heart of the Freestar Collective, who wouldn't? I have 2 properties for sale. This one here is a refurbished colonial manor in the heart of the core. I also have a more modest 1-bedroom in Midtown. Any interest in them? It's my favorite listing I've had in years. Spacious in the core itself. I took great pains to get all the approvals, so the neighbors should be no problem. It's historic and spacious. Oh my, so much space. And the price is a veritable bargain. I can't say I'm surprised. As rare as properties like this are, rarer still is the buyer who can afford it. But you do take care. Yeah?
I can understand wanting to honor or even celebrate history, but this may take it too far.
We take vandalism seriously here. You don't mess with history. Hello.
I'm gonna use.
Still can't believe
to get a
people
bunch of
actually
different
live like
chunks.
this.
Things have never been better since this chunks opened up. Makes me feel like we're actually part of the UC. Well, people gotta eat, you know? But seriously, I think we're just starting to get with the times a little. And I can't think of a better restaurant than Chunks to usher that in. I think corporate just saw New Homestead as an untapped market. I mean, the locals may not eat it, but the tourists love having a taste of home. You know I do. And what's not to love? It's delicious, nutritious, easy, fast, inexpensive. It sure makes my hungry belly sing for joy. Eh, my wife thinks I eat too much Chunks food, but I just can't help myself. It's so good. Oh, you had to go and ask the hard questions, huh? How can I pick just one? There's chicken chunks, beef chunks, potato chunks, cheesesteak chunks, cheesecake chunks. You know what? I'm gonna cheat if you don't mind, and just say I love them all equally. If I'm completely honest, it is. And people are always saying how this Chunks can't compare to the real deal. And I just know it's because we never had that mouth-watering sauce. I've been in contact with some of the other restaurants out there, and they'll give me some, but they say they can't afford to send it, and I don't have a ship, so what am I to do? You bet it is. You may not hear people talk about it, but trust me, it's the secret ingredient. It's like the glue that holds it all together. I mean, not literally. I'm not saying it's glue or that our food falls apart. It's delightful. Tangy, savory, it's a little sweet, but not too sweet. And I've noticed that once people find out we don't have it, sometimes they don't return. It's the reason business isn't as good as other chunks. For real, good question. They haven't said, but I think it has something to do with them prioritizing other chunks over mine. I guess it's made at a different facility than our other food, and they don't even want to pay the shipping cost to ship from another store to ours. Yeah, sometimes I get lucky and a cargo hauler passes through with a route that takes them near other chunks and back again, but there's no guarantee. Wait, for real? You do that. You're not pulling my leg. Oh, yeah, right. I actually just got a message back from another Chunks before you got here, and they got a case ready to go for me. Just tell them you're there to pick it up for me, and it should be good to go. Thanks.
It's so cold here. I guess I should have expected that.
We live a simple life on New Homestead, but make no mistake, it's Hello there. Are you here to peruse our little museum exhibit? Wonderful. These are all rare artifacts from before the collapse of Earth. There isn't much of this stuff left outside of private collections, but here we're happy to share a glimpse of them with the public. If you have any questions about the exhibit or New Homestead, I'm happy to answer as best as I can. Of course, certainly. We have several items in our collection that we rotate in and out over time, but they all originate from the same place, Earth. We have everything from toys to antique technology to sports memorabilia. We even used to have an old Earth vehicle, but we had to sell it when we ran out of space for it. Most of our collection was donated by fellow Earth enthusiasts and historians who felt it belonged close to the homeland here in the Sol system. I am Maurice Leon, and I am the community elder. As the oldest living citizen at 96, my only job is to keep Earth history alive. I tell stories to the young people and the visitors from other worlds. Although my memory isn't what it used to be, I try my best to get the stories right. When our early colonists learned of Earth's demise, they decided to take on the names of their cities of origin as a way to remember their heritage. Now, some may have been lost in translation over the years, and some may have taken it more seriously than others, but the names are mostly accurate. For instance, my family comes from the city of Lyon, in a country that was called France. Sure, I'd love to. There was once a war, so big that they say all of the world was involved. This was actually the second time it happened. They fought because a terrible man named Hitler rose to power and slaughtered many innocents. Millions were lost. Even the colony war pales in comparison. Why, certainly. It's what I do. There was a time when huge monstrosities called dinosaurs ruled over Earth, long before humans existed. They were similar to some of the larger life forms you might see elsewhere in the settled systems. Their reign ended when I can never remember if it was a comet, an asteroid, or a meteor that hit the Earth. Whatever it was, it nearly wiped out most of the life at that time.
Wow. Thank you, Jay.
It's an interesting story. New Homestead began as a scientific research base called the Titan Astrobase, back when space travel was in its infancy. The hope was that humanity would be able to discover simple alien life here given the moon's composition and water supply. When that ultimately failed, it was repurposed as a colony research base where scientists and engineers studied how to build colonies on inhospitable worlds. Then, finally, when gravity drives were commonplace and we started finding Earth-like planets, New Homestead was born as a living history community to preserve that past. Let me think of a good one. A long time ago, thousands of years, humans built a wall so large it spanned the northern length of one of Earth's largest empires, China. They called it the Great Wall of China, and it was meant to keep out invading hordes. If I recall correctly, it didn't always work as well as they had hoped. I'll have to look it up again. Memory's not what it once was. Sorry, were you saying something? Take care.
Do you know the museum here is full of old Earth artifacts? Cool, huh?
You get used to the methane processing smell after a while.
Why, hello there! I'm Bill Starsap of Starsap Tours. Let me tell you, this place is full of history and interesting facts. For instance, did you know that New Homestead was one of the first colonies established outside of Earth? It's been populated in some capacity for over 200 years.
Just another dead world.
It's where we're all from. It was a place of beauty and unimaginable.
Yes, sirree, and that's not science fiction, it's science fact. There's a lot more history where that came from. So what do you say? I've got an opening. I could take you on a tour right now if you'd like. Why would I want a tour of New Homestead, she says. Well, let me tell you, New Homestead is living history. These people are direct descendants of some of the first settlers to leave Earth. If you've ever wanted to know what that early colonial life was like, this is your chance to embark on a fun-filled exhibition unlike any other. Definitely check out the Brown Horse Tavern. Good food, great atmosphere. Avoid spending too much time outdoors. It's freezing out there. Any more than that, and well, I'd be giving away the tour for free. Excellent! You won't regret it. My tours are one of a kind. Now, there's just the matter of price. The going rate for a genuine Starsap tour is only 100 credits. Great! Let's get this show on the road, eh?
This garden is a
All
lot
right,
smaller than I
so
thought it would be.
this is New Homestead's main concourse. This
been a while since I
underground
last
area
visited.
didn't exist when the
Nice to see
original
you.
outpost,
Still
Titan
has the same
Astro Base, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live. Now remember, these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astro Base lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here, but more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me. Have any questions so far? Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. The original Titan Astro Base had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. Oh sure, I'll be here waiting. The locals love to talk with tourists, but they'll let you know if they're busy, so please respect them.
You'll never catch me.
Hi there. Always nice seeing a new face.
Lots of history here, if you're into that sort of thing.
Have any questions so far? Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
Don't stay outside for too long here on Titan. You'll freeze solid without the proper protection.
Ah, to lay eyes on the earth just once.
New Homestead is a living history exhibit. But these are real people.
The elders said that preserving our tradition is so important, but I keep hearing such wonderful things about other worlds.
You all can travel the stars, but someone's got to respect and preserve the old soul traditions.
I've heard about lots of other planets out there. Some of them sound pretty scary, though.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled, a perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony. Any questions about the farms? Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet. These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hearty root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hearty root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there. They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astrobase. Sadly, they're undergoing some light renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here. Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan Astrobase biolabs. Funny you should ask! Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage.